We're going to keep it rolling here. We've got a couple of veteran presenters that I think you guys will really enjoy. We've got joining us from Sports Reference and Baseball Reference is Jonah Gardner and Zoe Surma, both of Sports Reference and Baseball Reference, and they are going to talk to us about using the data on baseballreference.com. So let's go ahead and welcome Jonah and Zoe. Jonah, what's happening, man?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having us, Scott.
Welcome back. Hi, Zoe. Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going?
We'll leave it to you all. If you need us, we're here, but enjoy, everybody.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Thanks to Scott and the SABR Analytics Conference for having us. Thanks to you all for tuning in. This is always a really fun session. So for starters, let me just introduce ourselves. So my name is Jonah. I work as the product marketing manager for Sports Reference. So I do a lot of our sort of marketing efforts around our StatHead product, which is what Zoe and I are going to kind of be showing you today. Zoe, if you want to take it over and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Zoe. I'm one of the software developers here at Sports Reference. I've been working mainly on the pro basketball site, college basketball site too, but I've done a couple things for the baseball site too, so I will try to uh, try my hand here too with that. So.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is I'll take about 20 minutes to kind of show you a little bit of sort of the deeper stuff you might be able to find in Baseball Reference, show you around StatHead, let you know, give you a feel of how to use that to maybe find data sets you're looking for. And then Zoe will show you how to take stuff off of StatHead or off of Baseball Reference and work with it on your own in kind of a more advanced way. So I will go ahead and get started by sharing my screen. Also, don't let me forget that I have a link to send you all for a quick survey and also to sign up for our for interviews about the site. So just need to make sure to remember to send you all that when we're done before questions. But we'll also have plenty of time for questions at the end of this. So let me go ahead and get us started here. Let me go to there we go. All right. So this is the Baseball Reference homepage, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. What I'm going to do is I'll just go ahead and start by taking us into StatHead. And then if you have questions later about stuff that you're not sure how to find on reference, I'm happy to go over that. But for the most part, you're probably familiar with the way the reference sites works. So there's player pages that you can go to that list the player stats. There are also these sorts of tabs that take you to splits. You can go to game logs. You can go and see more advanced stats than what we have on the main page. So if you want to dive deeper beyond, WAR and the baseball card stats, we've got all these extra tables. We have game logs and all of that stuff. But then we also have StatHead, and what StatHead does is let you basically query the baseball reference database to answer more complex questions than what you would be able to do just by surfing baseball reference. So let me go over here. So this is StatHead. We have them for all of the sports that we cover on reference. But obviously I'm going to dive into the baseball one. And you can see the way it's split up is it's divided into these different sorts of finders. So what you do is you use these finders to build your searches and build your queries and to query different parts and different data sets within the baseball reference database. So we have one for our season level data, which goes up, for single seasons, multiple seasons, careers. We have one that queries our game logs. You can look through our splits data, which is pretty extensive depending on the nature of the split. And then we have stuff like streak finders, which will use the game logs to look for streaks. Span finders searches for any sort of statistical span. So if that's 5 games, 500 games, 50 games, and there's some cool additional filters that I'll show you in there. The Versus Finder lets you kind of compare player stats head to head. So you can put up to 6 players in kind of a neat little shareable graphic to compare their stats. Good if you're, comparing players to each other for awards voting or looking for comps or stuff like that. And then the event Finder queries are a play-by-play database. So I'll start by kind of showing you kind of the basics of how to set up a search in StatHead. So I'm going to go into the player batting finder. And you'll see that there's this tool, and this is how most of the StatHead tools look. And there's kind of 3 sections to it. So here, right in the middle, we have the query results. This is the actual table that shows you the results of whatever search you've set up. And then along the side here, we have the search criteria. And this is where you turn on different filters to build out the parameters of your search. And you'll see there's a lot of stuff. So you can do you can pick a range of years. Most of them will have like a regular season or postseason filter. Some of them, like the game log ones, have all-star game filters as well. You can narrow it down by position and playing time. And then you can turn on all of these different filters that we have sort of separated by category. So there's statistical filters with a bunch of stats in them, ranging from, home run, single, batting average, kind of the real basic stats, all the way up through like WAR and the component parts of WAR, and also stuff like WPA and some of these more kind of advanced stats. In the team filter, you can pick like a single team, like a franchise, but you can also, or a league like AL or NL, but you can also do team success. And this has a bunch of cool filters. So you can look for players on a team that won the World Series or missed the playoffs or finished with a 500 winning percentage or won 90 games, anything like that you can do. So that's a really cool filter. Biographical filters are like, player information. So their age in the seasons we're searching, whether they're lefty or righty, how far into their career they were, even stuff like height, weight, name. And then we also have all the MLB draft data is also searchable in here. So if you're looking for first round picks or undrafted players or anything like that. And then this last set of filters are status filters. So they let you filter by rookie status, whether the player is active, whether they're a Hall of Famer, whether they made the All-Star game, stuff like that. So that's these sorts of filters. So you can turn on as many of these want to build out your query, and then you can change the search type if you're looking for something more specific. So right now by default it's looking for single seasons. So you can see right now it's just like a bunch of single season lines from our database. This is most home runs in 2024 is the default question, but you can change it to combined seasons. So searching for multiple years or careers. You can change it to find the players with the most seasons matching the criteria, or even like the most players in a season or the most players on a team matching the criteria. So I'll do one of those searches just to kind of put it together. Let's look for the team that missed the playoffs but had the most all-stars. I've just made that off the top of my head. So if there's something else you'd rather see, feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll take a look and search for that later. But so I've changed the search type to players on a team in a season matching criteria. So now it's going to count up the number of players on each team that match our search type. And then I'm going to go to team success and missed playoffs. And then I'm going to go to all-star selection. I'm going to choose yes. So now this is players who made the all-star team in this season in question, but their team missed the playoffs. And I imagine we're going to get a lot of oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button there. All right, there we go. I imagine we're going to get a lot of like older sort of pre-wild card, pre-LCS teams, but these are the All-Stars. These are the teams with the most All-Stars that the team missed the playoffs. Oh, I did division finish, sorry. Let me search that again. All right, so now we will get the correct result. But you can see what I mean. This is showing you a list of teams, and then you can see the actual players in question that qualified for this search. So every StatHead tool, or for the most part, works like this. So I'll pop into the game finder and you'll see that it's very similar. The same sort of filters over here, but now it's on a game level. So there are options for like the opponent, or whether the game was home and away, or the ballpark it took place in, even weather stuff. We have like a pretty extensive database of weather that you can search. But now you're searching the game logs instead of the season logs. There's a couple of like cool, interesting wrinkles that I just want to show you in some of these tools that are a little more tucked away. So in the split finder, I think, it's pretty clear what this does. This searches split stats. So you can set stuff like home or away, first or second half. I'm in the pitcher one, so you can do starter or reliever or whether they got a decision. But one thing that people sometimes miss is this default option when you go to choose a split called match any listed. So right now the split type is opponent. If I go to choose a split, you can see I can pick like the Cubs or the Yankees or get splits against any team. But the other thing I can do is match any listed, and that will give us the results uh, uh, for every single split. So like if I wanted to see who had the most strikeouts against any particular team, I would use this match any listed. And then I could run this search and it will give me the full list of all the splits, which is a pretty cool extra feature of the split finder. So you can see like last season, Cole Reagans had 31 strikeouts against the Twins. That's the most strikeouts any pitcher had last year in against any opponent, any particular team, followed by Skeens against the Cubs with 30. So just a cool extra thing you can do in the split. Sorry about that, Zoe. The Cubs catching a stray there. And then the span finder is another one where I just want to show you some additional filters that some of the other ones don't have. So in the span finder, as I mentioned, this search is like player stats over a span of games. So you can see right now it's showing us the most home runs in any 5-game span in 2024. And you can see what I mean by like any span because Juan Soto shows up here twice because kind of in both of these spans, kind of in the middle of these spans, he had 6 home runs. So kind of on either end, whether you tack one game on either side, both spans show up, right? I hope that makes sense. So this is a really cool thing. It takes slightly longer to run a search in here than some of our other ones because if you think about it, it has to search every possible combination of spans within a player's like stats. So like with the Soto example, it's searching every single 5-game span one at a time. So adding one game, taking it off, then the next one, then the next one, and so on. But the other cool thing about this is that it has these span options. So you can limit the span to the start or end of a season. You can limit it to the start or end of a career. Or this is really cool, you can do start or end of stint with a franchise. So if a player who changed teams in the offseason gets off to like a really hot start with their new team, say they hit, 10 home runs in their first 10 games, or they, strike out, 50 batters in their first 5 games or something like that, you can look in here and see when's the last time a player like started with a new franchise that way, or if they get traded while they're in the middle of a hot streak, if they ended their stint with the franchise in a way like that. So that's really cool. I really like that tool. I'm going to now take us into the event finder. This one is searches our play-by-play database. So it's very powerful and very in-depth, but also looks and feels a little different than the other tools. So I just want to show this one to you really quickly. You see here the way this is laid out is there's still these kinds of search options here on the side. But then there's all of these different sort of play-by-play, components that you can add and take out of the search on top. And then when you scroll down, there's just a list of plays. So this is where you find those crazy stats like, who had, a bases loaded, walk in the bottom of the 9th inning, or, who had, the most like 2 out, or like look for a list of like 2 out walk-offs or stuff like that. You can do all kinds of stuff like that in here, just by adding stuff like different filters like this to the search. And then yeah, I don't know, 3-2 walk-off by a first baseman. Why not? We'll do postseason too. And now I'll run this and we'll see. Might not have any results. Yeah, so this particular one has actually never been done. There's never been a first baseman who hit a walk-off on a 3-2 count. At least if I did this search right. Maybe I screwed something up. But walk-off home run. But you can do that kind of search in here regularly, and I just wanted to show this because it looks and feels a little different, but it's a really cool tool. So that's the play-by-play finder. The last thing I'll show you is the versus finder, and then I'll show you how to take data off of our site, and that's a good point for me to hand it over to Zoe. So the versus finder lets you put players side by side to look at their stats. So if you want to look at like I don't know, like Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, and I'll throw Otani in there. If you want to look at their stats from like last season, or all time, but you type all the names in, and then you pick whether you want to look at their full career, whether you want to like choose different seasons for them. So if you want to compare like everyone's age 25 season, you could do it like this. Or if you want to choose the same season for all of them, like if I want to look at their 2024 numbers. And then I click get results. And now it's going to think for a second, and it gives us this fun graphic. It also gives us sort of all of the tables side by side. You might have seen this because you can search two players for free, and we link to it directly from Baseball Reference. So a lot of the time, people will find their way here. But another fun thing you can do in this is you can, if you put a pitcher and a hitter in here, it will show you their stats when they face off. So this is the stats like season by season when Zach Wheeler faces Juan Soto. And then this is every single plate appearance where the two have faced off. So you can do this either with batters or pitchers like separately to compare their stats, or you can do batter versus pitcher to see what a head-to-head thing looks like. We even have a tool that won't have anything now because we're not in season, but it shows you that day's scheduled starting pitchers and their stats against every opponent in the lineup that they're facing that night. So if Zach Wheeler was pitching against the Braves, it would show, you could go in here and see how he's done against Braves hitters in the past. Every hitter who plays on the Braves right now, who's on their 26-man roster. So that I think is a pretty good like high level overview of StatHead. I know I went through a lot, so I'm obviously happy to go back at the end when we do the Q&A and show you more stuff or answer questions or show you how to do stuff if there's stuff you're looking for. So feel free to drop like any questions in the chat, and we'll circle back on those for the Q&A. But the last thing I want to show you is just how to pull stuff off of StatHead or Reference, because this is the same on both sites. So if you go onto any table on any of our sites, and you scroll down to this little sort of drop down thing that says export data, you'll see these options appear. Modify, export, and share, get as Excel workbook, and get table as CSV. So if you click get as Excel workbook, it will just download a Excel spreadsheet of this table that I can then open in Excel, put into Google Sheets, do whatever I want to. If I click this, get table as CSV, you'll see it'll convert it into CSV format, and you can copy and paste it. And then the last thing you can do is if you don't want like this full table, you can click modify, export, and share. And then you'll see these like X's appear, and you can use them to close out rows or columns that you don't want in the table. And the one that kind of looks like a diamond, if you click that, it will take everything out from like below that point. So you can do this to very quickly and easily kind of narrow down the range of stuff you're trying to export. So I think that is it for my section of this presentation. I think with that, I can turn it over to you, Zoe, or do you think do you want to go now and then we can do questions at the end? Probably makes most sense.
Sure. Sounds good to me. Yeah, thanks for that, Jonah. I think no matter how many times like I see you do that presentation, there's always like more new stuff that I've never seen before. So it's always so much fun for me too. So yeah, like Jonah said, I'm gonna just kind of show you how to take from that table data step, just kind of some ways to like take that out, start kind of showing some visualizations, and like playing with it from that start. So let's see if I can share my I have not used Zoom in a long time, if anyone can tell. Okay, let's see. All right, here we go. Okay, you can see my Jupyter notebook, but okay. So should be showing my stat ed screen. Is that good for everybody? Okay, perfect. So yeah, so before I start, I'm gonna send a link in the chat to I have a drive link with um full like demo like presentation files basically, so you don't have to feel like like you need to like remember anything, take any notes. Actually, let me see if it's still in my copy paste. Okay, it still is. I'll like send this um later on too, just to make sure you can still access it. But yeah, so yeah, today we're gonna check out the play-by-play finder here, and yeah, today I wanted to just kind of find some stuff uh, um about uh, uh, about like people getting like dinged by pitches. So yeah, decided that um I would like to. Okay, this didn't. Let's start from the total fresh. So I'll say for the event finders like batting, I want to start from total scratch here. Okay, yep, like we saw, starts at I'll make the home runs there. And I would switch the event type to hit by pitches. And I want to get more than just 2024. So let's say 2000 to 2024 theoretically. You go back however long, but just gives us some data set to start off with. So yeah, cool. Okay, this is the same stuff we saw before for the home runs. Okay. So yeah, we have like that spits out like the date, the batter team, etc. Some more details there. So for the export data, I'm gonna go into like the modify export, and so um so for this, what I'm gonna show you today is with Python. There's a tool with Python basic um called a Jupyter notebook, and it's just kind of like a you know playground to be able to make graphs, um, like write Python code. Um, there's more options you could do, but that's just what I'll kind of show today. So with this, I can kind of think, okay, like what columns do I really want to be able to like show um, for a graph. And so I don't really care too much about this year number. So I would just clear that out. Same with the game number. Don't really need that guy there. And same for the play description here, just because that um, won't look really great for a graph so far. So once I have this here, for me, I prefer to put this into the CSV format, and then I'm like load in to my Jupyter notebook that way. So once you click this comma separated values thing here, you can see we have essentially this stuff gets all spit out here, right? So I just like to set, copy that to your clipboard, Control A, Control C, and then you would then like be able to go into your new text file, and then you can like paste here like the information. So we have some like template stuff, just to kind of mark like where you got it from. But for this case, we're gonna clear that out, just because that won't play nice for the table. So we would clear that, and then back up here, um, um, we're gonna want to keep this line here because that will be like the main um, column name starting off. So we'll just clear up here. Okay. So um, so once we would like save this text file here, that would be our table basis basically. So the one thing to note is that going back to the event finder here, if we I'm like refresh to see this here, this will only display I think about 200 events at one time. This one might be more. Okay, some of the finders do 200. I guess this one does about 500. Yeah. So basically, like we don't spit out the entire like results because that's thousands and thousands and thousands there. So to get more results, I'm like for that case, you would just do like next page here, which will just show you basically from 501 to 1000, which cool. Okay. So then here you'd like need to like do the same exact thing for the modified export. So clear out the year, clear out the game, clear out a description. So we're matching like we had before. Same here, copy paste. And I go down to the bottom of the file here. And when you paste this guy here, you'll just want to make sure you clear this. And then once you go back up to see where that joined, which you'll want to clear out like the columns because we have the headers from the first thing. So then this would like join up the data for you if you wanted to then have 1,000 results or so forth. I think that total was like 43,000 or something big. But anyway, so that's kind of how you can like join your data sets together there. But yeah, so once you have like your CSV file in there, then we can actually start doing like the Python coding. So here I've got my Jupyter notebook started off here. I'm going to use pandas first off, just because that's a nice like data frame table package, basically. There's like lots of these. I personally like pandas, which is pretty simple. So so from that, especially because it just has the nice read CSV file. You don't have to do more fancy stuff. So once you print it, you can see, okay, this is the same format we had before, right? So with this, there's still some columns here that are kind of like they're not like fully what we want yet here. Like this thing here, like picture additional there, like that's kind of like jumbled there, but we do want to have those like these player ID things here because that's what our sites use to be able to find player pages and so forth. So what my data cleaning here would be, I'm gonna try to get like separate those out, and then basically same for the opponent thing here. There's no separate column for say whether I'm like where that game was. So for now, I'm just gonna clear like that little symbol because we want to make sure like they would count the same, like the, you know, at CHC counts the same as CHC for the graph. So you can make little functions to be able to clean that for you. So this is just saying essentially take this section. This one is saying take there's a second section there, and then with that you run a little cleaning function there, and then from here we can say okay. So now the opponent column is there's no symbols there, and now we just have the pitcher ID, batter ID here. So from that, for the extra columns, that we probably don't need, I'm just going to drop those so we have less to look at. And so once we drop those, you can see we've lost some of the other ones. So like we just have like the IDs and just basic data. So yeah, there's so much more graphing stuff you can do. Since I'm not a big visualization person, I just did a very simple scatter plot here for the example. But I'm like load in Seaborn, which is similar to Matplotlib. It's just one more Python package that makes graphs for you. So from there, I can say, okay, so, from this data, let's put, the, I think that's the leverage stat, and then like the wins probability added, and then have like the hue for like the number out that was at. So if we run that, we can see, oh, okay. So like leverage, went up by there. I'm not sure what that means, but it's just like you can, show a nice graph, cool thing looking like that there. So you could also do like the opponent here. I think the like legend gets kind of funky, but similar things. So there's a ton of stuff you can do there. This is just kind of me showing the very basics. So that is what I had to share. So I will stop my sharing. And yeah, if you guys have it, more questions now, I think we'll be more than happy to answer. So
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Zoe. I think that stuff is really cool. It's always fun to see that. So we're gonna take questions now. I see there's already some in the chat. So if you have any, feel free to drop them in there. We're also happy to answer any questions, about working for Baseball Reference or working in sports or, any sort of stuff like that. Any questions about the sites, how they work, anything like that, as well as obviously questions about StatHead and what we showed. I do want to really quickly hit y'all up for a quick survey if you have time. We would just like to get more information on how people use the site and what sort of stuff might be useful for us to add. So you can scan this QR code, or I will drop a link to the survey here in the chat. And if you don't mind just filling that out, we would really appreciate it. But with that, I guess we can go ahead and answer questions. I'll put the QR code back up when we're done with the Q&A. So scrolling up to the top, I see that let me make sure I get the first one. All right, there we go. So Jacob asks, is there any way to use StatHead tools on stats under the advanced batting and pitching umbrella? So there are a good number of stats like that in the StatHead, particularly in the season finder, because the season level is where you tend to find most of those sorts of stats. But even something like WPA and leverage index, as Zoe was showing, you can get on a single play level or game level. There's lots of component parts to WAR stuff and other stuff like that. It's not totally 100% of them aren't in the stated tools, but the vast majority of them are. So that's something you can see. Patrick asks, for someone who does not have much experience in data research and analysis, but is curious for a starting point using StatHead, what would you recommend as a way to play around with data and familiarize oneself with it? So I think that the best way to learn StatHead is just to use it. Like really, like just experiment, just try it out, kind of see what you can do. You can always make up questions based on what you're seeing in baseball that day, but we also have a very extensive list of sample searches. If you go up to the help tab on the top, there will be a link to sample searches that show you basically every search type in every tool, all kinds of different searches you can do. So that's a really good starting point. We also have a playlist of tutorial videos on YouTube if you have any questions. Zoe, I'm not sure if you have anything you add kind of about that.
Yeah, I think that's um pretty similar to what I would say. I think um um Stud really good to if you have some sort of a question to, to like start off with being like okay like who- like who had like the most strikeouts by a Cubs pitcher, let's kind of like try to find that, it was the last time that somebody hit for the cycle, like that kind of um thing, like that could be kind of fun to then have that motivate your searching too. So
And I'll say, as someone who doesn't know a lot about stuff like SQL or Python or any of the programming languages, StatHead is a really great way for me to be able to do the kinds of searches that someone like Zoe can do using sort of coding and database knowledge and stuff like that. So, one of the nice things about it is it sort of empowers, more people to have access to that kind of data that previously would be difficult. And obviously, the baseball reference database is so extensive and so large that just being able to run these kinds of searches in it, I think is really cool. So Zoe, we have a question about Python. What Python libraries do you use or find most useful?
yeah, so mainly when I'm uh, um working here, I primarily do I'm like work within like um uh, Pearl, actually, more for our you know like back end systems, like not the fun making graphs. But as far as when I'm doing things like this, I really like pandas. I think uh I was mentioned before, uh Seaborn, NumPy. I think somebody mentioned Keras. That sort of a thing. Like those are all great to kind of start off with. So yeah.
Cool. So Josh asked if there are ways to look at differences between like different stints on a team, like if the player left and came back. As far as I know, that's not a filter in StatHead, but there are related ones. Like I was showing kind of when they started with the franchise. There's also one in the season that's like the number of franchises a player has played for, which is kind of fun if you want to look for like one team players or Edwin Jackson, style, immaculate grid all-stars who played for 12 teams. You can do stuff like that in StatHead. So I think that is cool. Dominic asks if the event finder is only available with a subscription. So yes, all of the StatHead tools require a subscription, whereas the baseball reference website is completely free to use. There's no paywalling there, but you do need a subscription for StatHead. It is free to try for a month, and there's also a student rate of $40 for an annual subscription, which is less than $4 a month, which is not a bad price for all that. So give it a try, see if you like it, and then you can sign up for the student rate if you're getting value out of it. Let's see. So we got a question about downloading large results beyond what Zoe was saying. And there's no way beyond kind of going through like the 500 rows at a time or the 300 rows. You kind of just have to do it in those chunks. And then, yeah, here's a good one from Carlos. Oh, Zoe, I see you got that one about IDEs. But that's in the chat. And then where are sources that talk about advanced batting and pitching? So I think maybe this could be, we can open this up a little bit, but just how we got into stats and stuff like that. I'll say for me personally, I was a big baseball reference user long before I worked here, just as a baseball fan. But I also really loved reading baseball prospectus. I have a wall of old baseball prospectuses on my room, in my bookshelf, like from back in the mid 2000s on. And I feel like they're an excellent resource for learning more about kind of the cutting edge of advanced stats and what's out there. I read Fangraphs a lot too, and I love their work. We're less editorial than those sites, so we have less writing. We're starting to look into like adding stat explainers and stuff, but at a glance, if you're on a reference site and you're curious, like what does that stat mean? If you hover your mouse over the name of the stat, a little definition will appear that shows a formula for how we calculate it or explain more like that. But Zoe, how did you kind of get into like advanced stats and kind of the nerdier side of baseball and sports?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely kind of, started off like from the, just like watching kind of sports, and then yeah, I just really like numbers, even when the numbers don't, like they might be kind of like meaningless number. I just like the numbers. And yeah, I'm definitely not as familiar with like the, the very fancy stats. I mean, some people like like within like sports reference, they know so much. It's crazy how much they know. But yeah, no, I mean it's you know fun to like learn while I go. For me, since I come from the software side more of it, yeah, that's working on our kind of like lower level systems, making sure like the website, stays up. And if things are, um on like the times when there's things like wrong like with the site, we're the ones that are trying to make that right for you guys. So that's kind of what I spend most of my time on, um, which is fun. So.
So Melody asks, I've been working on machine learning algorithms for navigation patterns and decision making when it comes to base running. Do you have a database that best addresses this? So I think that's a really interesting project. Let me show you where to find some kind of more base running stuff. It's actually on the reference site, so you don't even have to bother with StatEd for it. But if you are looking for sort of base running stats, um, if you go into this section, finders and advanced stats, and you click on the advanced stats, and obviously Otani has batting and pitching, so you want to go to batting. And you scroll down a bit, we have a section of advanced stats that's just base running stuff. So you can get a lot more than just stolen bases. You can get like stolen base opportunities. You can get like specifically which bases were stolen, as well as like outs made on the bases, taking first to second or second to home on a single. You can get kind of that sort of like base running stuff and success and failure rate. If you want to look at that for the full, like every player in the league as a whole, go to the seasons page and go to the no, sorry, I'm getting so go to the seasons page, and then if you go to batting, you'll see kind of those same table options. And if you go to base running, this will load up. This is teams on top and then players, and you can see a table with all of these stats for all of these players in a given season. So you could get all of this 2024 thing using the export and share option that we talked about. We don't have like the sort of stat cast stuff about like, the speed and the angle and like that sort of thing. But if you want kind of like the more sort of in-depth like stuff like this, that is all in the base running section of our site. So hopefully that helps. Zoe, I'm not sure if you have any advice about how you would go about maybe like a question like that, machine learning for decision making when base running.
Yeah, I think that makes sense there. I think uh sometimes for like machine learning stuff, um seems like you need like lots of like data. And I think yeah, oh, we don't have like one, nice like download to, get, thousands of like data points, like results there. So you're probably going to need to uh you know um essentially like build that database, up yourself, like that data set. But yeah, that's kind
Cool.
of started.
So Kirsten asked to share a project we're working on and or describe what our day-to-day work is like. And Zoe and I work in like very different parts of the reference universe. So it should be an interesting range of the kind of stuff we can do on there. So what I do, so I work on our marketing team. So a lot of my work kind of revolves around once Zoe's team and the product team have done the work and built out the new features for the site or updated the site or keeping things running. It's my job then to like make people aware of it. So we do a lot of email marketing. We have a very large database of email contacts who we reach out to regularly and have a lot of touch points with. We do a lot of social media marketing. And we also do a lot of marketing like on the site because the reality is that like our biggest audience that we'll have are the millions of people who come to a reference site every day. So we, kind of try to find ways to make people aware of new stuff on there. As far as like a new thing we're working on, I would say the big thing that took over kind of my life for the last several weeks is for you Immaculate Grid players, we just launched this new feature called stats or like my stats. And basically, what you can do is like create an account on Immaculate Grid, and it will pull in all of your saved data from the games you've played in the past and create this cool report that shows you which players you play on Grid the most, which categories and teams you're the best at playing, what your average score is, the number of grids you've completed, and all of that stuff. So I think that that's a really cool feature. We put a lot of work into that, and it came out really cool. So it actually just started like it went live Tuesday, I think, Tuesday afternoon. So if you haven't seen that yet and you are a grid player, definitely check it out. It is extremely cool. So that's an overview of me and my day. Zoe, what about you?
Yeah, recently, we, for me, as far as like the basketball side, there's been lots of March Madness stuff, and within like the next few days, there should be some new uh stuff we're actually rolling out for the site. I'm not gonna um spoil what that is so far because that should be coming out tomorrow, hopefully. But yeah, we got some new stuff for that, so that's what I've been doing.
Cool. And to answer Josh's question, the Immaculate Grid accounts are totally free. The my stats, all that stuff, totally free. You'll just have to like put in your email address to create an account, and then you will be able to see your stats. If you are a StatHead user, you can use your StatHead account, just log into that, and you'll get the same thing. But you don't have to be. Either way, and yeah, Grid tournament is a really fun idea. We've actually looked at that in the past, or like different ways to make that work. And I think that's going to happen. I feel like that's going to happen someday. It's such a cool idea. Let's see. Katie asked about college stats and StatHead. We don't have that for baseball in there right now. Zoe can attest we do have that in basketball StatHead. We have the college basketball and college football stats in the football StatHead. So getting NCAA stats into baseball StatHead is definitely on our list and something we would like to do at some point in the future. Cool. So I think those look like all the questions. Does anyone have any last questions for Zoe or I before I go? And I'm going to drop the link to that survey one more time just to make sure. We'd love to hear from you all. Obviously, a lot of the stuff you've been talking about in the chat are features, features to add, stuff you'd like to see on the site. We would love to hear more about that, to get your insight into what sort of stuff you would like to see on there, so people like Zoe can build them out for you, and we can add them to the site in the future. you can also, I think, sign up for like a user interview if you want to go even more in depth. But we really appreciate that if you take the time to do that. And if not, no worries. I think that is everything. Zoe, did you have anything else? Any last thoughts?
I think for me, I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your conference. This is a highlight for Zoe and I every year to come here and be able to do this. So we really appreciate it. And thanks to Scott and everybody at SABR for having us. And have a good weekend.
Jonah and Zoe, I love hearing from you guys every year. We thank you so much for being here. Again, check out Baseball Reference, StatHead, some great offers for students and a really invaluable resource for all of us baseball researchers. So